You spoke about the beavers and all of that. I'd like to know, what is your level of assessment in the preparedness and the neutrality of INEC so far?
Thank you very much, my brother. Actually, if you look at it, the trend now, beavers, as it's been done these days, gives the electoral process a sort of credibility. There was a discussion recently, and someone was asking, is INEC being fair enough? And from what we have seen in the off-season elections, I mean the election in Ekiti, Edo, Osun recently, where beavers were tried, it is known, and we all saw it, that in Osun, in Edo, for instance, the sitting government lost. APC lost that election. And it was even adjudged by even the worst of opposition that this election is free, fair, and credible. So far from what we have seen, gone were the days when people will say election your vote doesn't count. From what we have seen so far, it is known and clearly shows that this administration meant well for our democratic process. And this beavers of a thing, it's a demonstration of that fairness. Whether out of the 3 elections done so far in the off-season, I mean Ekiti, Osun, and Edo, the APC administration lost 2 of the elections. You understand? And it's a clear demonstration that they are being fair to an extent. So from our own side, we believe beavers is a plus, and we give that credit to INEC, and by extension, the government of President Muhammadu Buhari.
But I don't know if I got this correctly. Were you asking for an integrity test or thereabout of the process?
One thing is this: there is no system that may be foul-proof. However, the level of whatever you see as its setback can still be improved on. But so far, we believe it has gotten a pass mark. But there are room for improvement if they need be. Because now, in Osun State, for instance, the administration of former Governor Oyetola, they are in court with the present governor. You understand? And we are aware that beavers was used during that election. The outcome of the result of the court case will even give credence or otherwise to the beaver system. However, we believe there's no system that is foul-proof, but there are rooms for improvement. So in the few months, we'll see whether that thing can be improved upon, or maybe there are rooms, or maybe it should be discarded or whatever. But we believe this system, the way it is now, it is far better than the other time when you easily write the election result to do this. So from now, we know it is not easy for you. Everybody knows that you cannot go to a polling unit, for instance, and impersonate. It's impossible. So there may be but however, there are ways that when you see politicians always look for ways to bypass the system. But we believe with time, as those who are hell-bent in discrediting that system may be working, INEC will not be resting on their oars too. They will be trying their best to make sure that they improve on that system and make it foul-proof. But so far, so good. It is far better that we have a system that Nigerians can stand and say, okay, my vote counts. Because like I said during the press conference on Friday, that is 13th of January 2023, we made it categorically clear that gone were the days when you jettison the electorates. Whether they like it or not, you will write the election because you are the government in power. But politicians will look other way. That's okay, we can buy that thing. If the vote doesn't count, they will not be buying it. And they buy it, they give it to you, understand? But as much as we don't support vote buying, we believe the credence or the inability to rig the way they've been doing it before, in quote anyway, they will not understand. It is getting more difficult for anybody to sit down and say you write election results. So they may look for ways to sabotage the system. However, we call on INEC and we believe they can still do better. But so far, so good. We know the votes of Nigerian true believers will count.
That's fair enough. I'd like to hear from you now, Mr. Olisa. He mentioned something about vote buying, and it seems as though even though the process becomes foolproof and politicians cannot rig, perhaps the system itself, there's still that avenue for them to induce voters to vote against their conscience or towards another direction. That aspect of this, what do you think, can reduce it, or how do you think it will work? Do you think Nigerians will simply not listen this time around, or how do you think it will go? That issue that remains, vote buying.
But I think in all aspects of life, you cannot get something to call 100% immaculate. I need to say that they commit it already, and gradually they'll be advancing on it. The more they practice it, the more they begin to get it right. And the idea of vote buying, it might to some extent be very difficult for these days. It might be very difficult indeed for them, because the idea of this waiver will go a long way to at least reduce the ideas of vote buying in the election period. And adding to that as well, basically, it will be difficult indeed for them to at least influence the election by way of introducing a viewer into it.
All right. But the question now really is, with Nigerians, are you noticing a change at all? The NBS recently released a report that over 130 million Nigerians are living in multi-dimensional poverty. So, do you see Nigerians as being able to shun money when it comes to their fund? And if someone says, I want your vote for these amounts, do you think they can say no, especially when most Nigerians now are poor?
Yeah, to some extent, some will disagree with them, but to some extent, some will pick it up from them, but I think majorly it will reduce the idea of a vote buying in the election period.
All right, so I'd like to get your thoughts on that, if you have any, on how you think the mindset of Nigerians are at the moment. Do you see it as an easy task for them to say no to vote buying or vote selling?
Wait, let me be frank with you. I am an apostle of no vote buying in court. I don't support it, and I will never support it in every ramification. However, it takes two to tango. You have people who want to buy vote, and if there's nobody ready to sell, definitely there cannot be a buyer. Now, if you bring money, that is my thought. It's not the position of concerned professionals for Tinubu Shetima presidency 2023 anyway. If you bring money, some of us, I personally, collect that money and vote your conscience. However, the level of poverty in Nigeria is very high, but it's not only in Nigeria. When people talk about inflation is ravaging Nigeria, some of us who go around and travel around know one thing for sure. The inflation of a thing is an international thing. It's ravaging the entire world, even US and America and Europe. Things that we used to buy at $15 before, you buy as much as $30, $40 now. So it's everywhere. However, on the issue of vote buying, we implore people not to sell your conscience. But if they give you, collect the money if you must collect, but vote your conscience. Because one thing is sure, you may decide not to take it. I'm not saying you should take it anyway. If you know you can hold it, because to change a system, you need to sacrifice. Some will say, I'm suffering, why won't I collect this money? Some of us will say, well, you can say no. The whatever suffering you are going through is just for some time. Your fingerprint can change the system, because those who are voting are the ones that will formulate policy that will rather impoverish you the more or set you out of poverty. So now, if you don't want to, if you receive a tip, I call it a tip, that you allow somebody to influence your conscience, then it's left to you. But I will never, for any reason, support vote buying. However, because of what you raise now, people are suffering. But the question is this: can 5,000, 10,000 change your life? So you must think very well before you accept that inducement. And if there are ways you can collect and still vote your conscience, do. The reason is very simple. Somebody who is buying vote is not because governance is not a personal thing. If you want to change the system, you believe you want to change the system, and you are working for the good of the people, must you not spend your money anyhow? So if you can be buying votes, that means you have something else to do. Rulership or leadership is not a do or die affair when it comes to democracy. You allow the will of people to prevail. But if you believe you can buy the will of the people, then why must you be there at all cost? Because vote buying is, to me, it's criminal. And if you blame, it is multifaceted. You blame the giver, you blame the taker, you blame the security agencies around. However, because if somebody must offer something at the polling unit or polling stations, there are people, there are security operatives are there. Somebody raised the issue. He said, look, they buy before getting to the polling unit. That's even better. You can collect the money, then vote whatever you like. You vote your conscience when you get there. At least you'll be the only one in the cubicle. You understand now, baby? You'll be the only one in the cubicle. I don't support vote buying in any way. I support campaign. Campaign very well. Tell the people what you want to do. Tell them what you can offer. Let them know the antecedent, where you are coming from, what you can do for the country. But the moment you start going out to buy votes, that means something must be wrong somewhere. We, in Concerned Professionals for Tinubu Shetima President 2023, we condemn vote buying in more ramifications. And we believe if they offer you, vote your conscience. Vote your conscience. So that is my own position about it.
Right. You've already said what you prefer, which is that people go out there, make their case, and who they want or speak for themselves. So that being said, why have you chosen to, for lack of a better word, endorse the APC candidacy? What is it about the Tinubu Shetima presidency that has got you on board?
Thank you very much. I think I have been expecting this kind of question. You see, if you have a group of individuals vying for votes, vying for a position, your preferred candidate must be someone you think you can vouch for to an extent. Presently, we have several of them in the race. I will say that we have contenders and we have pretenders as well. With due respect to some of them anyway. And we know there are some who are brilliant enough that we believe they are candidates for tomorrow. But for what we have now, from the campaign, because Nigeria, we were discussing it before we entered the studio. Let me tell you, Nigeria is so vast, so big enough. So I travel around the country. I've entered all the states in this country. And you believe that to win the election, it's not the issue of the candidate himself. It is those you have on ground at different places. Now, let me narrow the reason for our choice of candidates to three major contenders for now. The three major contenders, as we have, you two know it, is Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar Waziri Adamawa, and Mr. Peter Obi. In all ramifications, going by the constitution, the three of them are competent enough to rule. You understand? They have the right to contest. However, why we believe in the choice of our candidates was premised on some issue, on some yardstick. One, PDP has been there for 16 years. And Alhaji Abubakar Atiku, with due respect to him, has been in government at the national level for 8 years. The performance of PDP at that time is left for Nigerians to decide. However, we believe in fairness and equity because where we are coming from, majority of our members are from the northern part of Nigeria. My national coordinator is the northern. Majority of them are national. They are from the north. But because we believe in fairness, we believe that power must shift to the south. That is the first yardstick. And if you saw what played out during the APC convention, how people you don't even expect stepped down for Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, that is one. You saw the event leading to that convention, before the convention, you saw how the APC governors, most especially the northern APC governors, which include the current DG, that is His Excellency Governor Samuel Lalong, His Excellency the Governor of Kaduna State, Malamel El-Rufai, Governor Matawale and Co., Governor Bagudu and Co., moved heavily and went to the president that, come, let this power shift. They give their support. Without their support, actually, you wouldn't have won that convention because they believe in fairness. The same thing we believe in it, that this power must shift. Secondly, you may say, but Mr. Obi, so for that we knocked out Elijah Abubakar Atiku. We knocked him out on that we cannot support. Power must not retain in the north. Let us shift so that there will be fairness, there will be equity, there will be credibility for the system. People will feel that they are part of this system. And though democracy is a game of number, anyway, election is a game of number. However, this our nascent democracy must be nurtured to maturity before we can now leave it open. Now you may go further, because I know you'll be asking me, is Peter Obi not a southerner? Fine. Mr. Peter Obi is a southerner. He's equally qualified to contest election, which he is doing and is performing creditably well in some areas. However, you may say, why didn't we support him? See, when you put the two of them, now we are left with two options. When you put the two of them side by side, that is Mr. Peter Obi and Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, look at what they've done in the past. One, the two of them were former governors. Taken. Furthermore, Asiwaju was a former senator. Mr. Peter Obi was not a senator. Three, you know their performance. Where Asiwaju was coming from, the state he ruled is a mini Nigeria. I can bet you, as you sit down with me, you must have somebody in Lagos, whether a brother, an uncle, or somebody. And this man governed that place, irrespective of where you come from. He appointed people into his cabinet who are non-Lagosians, who are even non-Southerners, non-Southwesterners, like Professor Akabueze, for instance, Mr. Joey Boku, who is even a special advisor to the governor presently. So he left the system opened. He welcomed every shade of ideas, and based on that, he performed. And when he was leaving, he was able to choose a successor who was not even a politician to the core. That is Mr. Babatunde Raji Fashola. Mr. Raji Fashola, at the time he was brought into government, was just 39 years old when Asiwaju detected him and brought him into government to serve as the chief of staff, and he performed creditably well against all odds that time. When you see politicians like GOS and some others who are core politicians who vied for become the government in 2007 when Asiwaju was leaving, he made them realize one thing: all of you are qualified, all of you can perform. However, I would prefer this, because he has that inherent vision to see a talent when he detects one, to see a performer, somebody who can perform and still be loyal to his vision and mission. You can, and as at that, every Lagosian, at least majority of Lagosian, because as a human being, all the people cannot like you at the same time. We saw the performance of Fashola in Lagos, how Governor Raji Fashola performed in Lagos. Aside from that, look at it, the way he appointed his commissioners and special advisors when he was in government. He the current the present vice president was in the classroom. As at the time he was appointed the commissioner for Justice and Attorney General in Lagos State.
Sorry, Mr. Taiwo, to cut you short there. Okay. We've run out of time. So I'd just like some final statements from you. Your predictions, your projections. What do you think is going to happen on February 25th and on? God knows. If you give me 1 minute. Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. You see, God knows tomorrow. However, He gives power to whoever gives power to. While we may have our choice, while we may have our preference, we preach violence-free election, an election that is free of rancor. Now, the prediction to us, we believe the race is a two-horse race between Alhaji Abubakar Atiku and Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, but without mentioning what. You can see Asiwaju is campaigning more than anybody. He's reaching out more than any of the contestants. And we believe he will come out victorious.
That's fair enough, Mr. Taiwo. Any last words on your assessment of the process and what you expect in 2023, in February?
Yes. They said, name that have. You can't give out what you don't have. The fact of the matter will speak for itself exactly when it's February 2023, when we will go into general election by His grace. And I'm very sure to that effect, Asiwaju will pick the month of election by His grace.
All right, thank you very much for coming. We hope to have you some other time, perhaps where we can really expand on your candidate and some of those other issues. Thank you for coming.
We would like that day to
Thank you. All right, that's all we take on the Polity today. Do join us tomorrow for more discussion on politics, governance, and the state of the nation. Have a nice day. I'm Ahmad Nubari. See you tomorrow.